Hey everyone, and welcome back. In our last lesson, you had a full tour of the n8n interface, your new digital workshop. Your assignment was to click around and get a feel for the space. I hope you had some fun exploring. If you discovered anything interesting or have any questions, then be sure to share them in our Discord group. That's what it's there for. But what are we learning today? Well, today, we're zooming in on the single most important component in that workshop, the node. We've called them Lego blocks and building blocks, but now we're going to understand from first principles why they exist and what jobs they do. So, in terms of the lesson outline, we'll explore a world before nodes, how nodes serve as a solution, the three jobs of a node, the three kinds of nodes in n8n, a quick recap, and then your assignment for this lesson. Okay, let's get started. To truly appreciate what a node is, we have to look at what came before it. So imagine you wanted to build a simple automation. When a new row is added to my Google Sheet, send a notification to Slack. Without a tool like n8n, you'd have to write custom code. You'd need to read Google's complex API documentation, handle all the authentication, write code to check for new rows, and then do it all over again for Slack. So read Slack's docs, handle their authentication, and write code to send a message. This old way had huge limitations, as you can tell. It required specialist programming knowledge, and it was also incredibly time consuming for each new connection. And if an app updated its API, your custom code would break and you'd have to fix it yourself. This is where the node comes in and how it solves all of these problems. A node is the elegant solution to the entire problem. A node is a pre-built, standardized package that contains all the complex code for connecting to a service and performing a specific task. It handles the authentication, the API calls, and the data processing for you, so you don't have to. Nodes turn hours of coding into minutes of configuration. Okay, but what do nodes actually do? Well, nodes perform a range of actions, but we can simplify it down to three main jobs within your workflow. And understanding these jobs is the key to understanding the different node types. So what are these jobs? Well, the three types of jobs are: first, starting the workflow; second, doing the actual work; and third, shaping the flow of data. Okay, well, what do we mean by this? Well, we'll take a look at what these three jobs mean in the context of the three node types in n8n. So let's take a look at the first node, which is the trigger node. The first job is starting the workflow, and for this we use the trigger node. A trigger is the ignition key for your automation. It's the event that kicks everything off. Nothing happens until the trigger fires. Triggers start a workflow in response to a specific event. And we have a variety of different kinds of trigger nodes. For example, schedule, which runs at a specific time; a webhook, which runs when it receives a web request; an on-app event, which runs when something happens in another app; and a manual node, trigger node, which runs only when you press execute. The second kind of node is the action node. So once your workflow is triggered, you need nodes to do the actual work. And for this, we use the action node. Action nodes are specialist workers. So you can have a Google Sheets worker that knows how to read and write data to spreadsheets. You can have a Gmail worker that knows how to send emails, and so on. So action nodes represent specific tasks within your workflow. So a typical workflow, for example, will have a trigger followed by a series of action nodes. So for example, you'll have the schedule trigger, which starts the flow, which then tells the Google Sheets action node to get some data, which then passes that data to the Slack action node to send a message. Okay, and the third type of node in n8n is the core / utility node. So let me explain what this node does. Well, sometimes you don't need to talk to another app. You just need to work with the data you already have or add some logic. And for this, we use core nodes, which you can think of as your utility or helper nodes. These are tools in your workshop that aren't specialist workers for outside apps. Instead, they provide internal functionality, like logic or scheduling. The most common use for a core node is adding conditional logic. So for example, the if node can check a piece of data and then send the workflow down a different path depending on the result. Other core nodes let you merge data from different branches, format dates, or set data that you'll need later. They give you precise control over the flow of your automation. So those are the three types of nodes in n8n, and let's just quickly recap what those are. The trigger node, which is the ignition key that starts the workflow. The action node, which are specialist workers that interact with other apps. Core or utility nodes, which are tools and logic that shape your workflow. Okay, great. So what's your assignment for this lesson? Well, it's very simple. Your assignment for this lesson is to think, not build. Think of a simple, repetitive task you do every week. Sketch it out on a paper or in a text file. Which node would be the trigger? What action nodes would you need to do the work? Could you use a core node to add some logic? And once you have your idea sketched out, share it in the Discord. It's the perfect way to start thinking like an automation builder and also to get feedback from the community. Thanks for watching. In our next lesson, we'll finally get our hands dirty with the data that flows between these nodes. We'll be talking all about JSON, so I'll see you there.